Right, hello, back again. I have put my water pots on the screen for a specific purpose. You'll notice that under the water pots is a folded piece of cotton. And that's what I use when I'm going to dry the brush. So I do it that way. In effect, taking the water out of the brush by painting the cloth. That reduces the amount of water that's in the brush. I can then pick up my mixture at the right amount of water to pigment. If this is already full of water, if the brush is already full of water, then you are diluting even further the color you're putting on. And this can create problems when you're putting one color with another. Because if the color you are putting in has less pigment, what you get is what's called a cauliflower, which can be good, but isn't usually. Okay, so that's just to say that's how I do it. So I got that piece of folded cloth all ready, and I just take the water out on it. Now, I asked you to paint the shadows on the picture. You got your picture? Castle in Annecy, and people have made two responses. Some of them have done what I did, which was to paint just the shadows. All this says is there is a shadow here. It doesn't say this is a dark shadow or a light shadow. It just says it's a shadow. And I thought it might be easier. It turns out not so, but there we are. To do just where the shadows are. So that's my take on it. Also note how pale my blue is. I could in fact do it even paler. But all you're doing is saying this is where a shadow is. Right? Now, Rachel went a little bit further and actually put in the dark shadows as well. So not only does she have her shadows where they are, she's put in with the blue paint the even darker shadows which occur on the picture. This is not wrong. It's as right as the other way. With this picture, you don't need to do so much mixing when you're actually doing the overpainting. With this one, you need to do a little to get it to go right. Okay, so now we will continue. Up to date, the only color we've used is ultramarine blue. One of the things you have to try to arrange to do when you're painting is to use as few colors as you need to achieve what you've got on your page or view in front of you. If you've got a box of paints, you will find you've got 101 paints, well, 12 anyway, in your box. The temptation is, if you want a green, you go to the green. If you want a blue, you go to the blue. If you want a red, you go to the red. In actual fact, if you reduce the number of colors that you're using, so you're only using, say, 3, you can achieve most of the colors that you want. And that also means that your painting has more integrity. I hope that's a believable word, right? Okay, so let's continue with what we're trying to do. Now, if you look at the picture, as has been pointed out to me, at least this half of the picture is, apart from that turret, is largely grey. And I bet you think I'm going to mix a black with a bit of water and make a grey. Well, it can be a bit dead, depends on what you're trying to paint. So what I tend to do is try to mix my black. And in this case, thinking about what I want to do, additional colors, what I'm going to do is to mix blue and red together. So I'm taking some ultramarine blue. Then I rinse the brush out, dry it a bit, and pick up some of the, now this color, to the best of my knowledge, The color I'm using here is alizarin crimson. It goes to a sort of purpley color. That's a bit strong, but it's not wrong. It would do. The other thing I could do, if I take the blue, this color that I've got here is permanent rose. I think I need a bit more blue in there. So that gives me that blue. Can you see that blue? I got a piece of paper. That blue has produced a different blue, a different purple to that one. Quite like the idea of purple. It's a bit more interesting than grey. So that's what I'm going to go with. Okay. I've just got to decide which one to use. But I think I'll go with the alizarin crimson one because it's a bit darker. So I've got my alizarin crimson. I need to mix enough. Shall we say? Because I'm thinking ahead of what else I want to do. And since most of you have never been there, you don't know where I'm going. So just come with me and I'll hold your hand. Right, now, I think I need, what are you doing? Right, okay. Right, so what I've done is to make it very pale. I don't want it to be too exciting, okay. I'm going to take this color and put it on my picture. Okay, so what is a wall in effect? Well, I've got one here. Notice I'm going over the blue that I've got there. I can come across this wall here. And again, I'm not going round, I'm just pulling the paint down over the and I'm quite happy about those little marks left. They're not going to be serious. I can take it over here, because this is also in shadow. We've got this bit here now. So that is also in shadow. And this comes up here, and this is there's a sort of curve at the top there. And it comes down as far as the roof there. This little one's got a slight curve on it, a slight upward curve. This is also in shadow. Okay, we can bring it down here. Never make enough paint. One of these days I'll learn. Right. Oh, I did the roof there as well. I shouldn't have done, but it's all right. Not going to hurt. Right, I really going to have to make some more. Always make enough paint. It's quite difficult to get that shade back again. I don't know what shade that is. Right, so I took the water out of the brush and oof, I'm going to go on down here. So that's more or less where the castle itself is. So you can see now where the castle itself is. Right. Let's see what we can do. If I want to make some of these shadows darker, while that's still wet, if I thicken this paint, how do I thicken it? More pigment, less water. So I'm mixing more pigment in. I pick up that, and there's quite a deep shadow here. Now that's a bit sharp. Those edges are a bit sharp, and I don't want them sharp. So I'm wetting a clean brush and drying it, and running the wet dry brush just along the edge of it, so that it's got somewhere to go into. And you can see so that's working all right. There's more shadow down here. I think I got that wrong. I think that should be there. However, we'll come to that in a minute. There's more shadow down here. The beauty of this one is that it's actually helping to define the slope there. There's quite a dark shadow there. And there. The trouble with that one is it's a bit strong. I don't want it quite as firmly edged as that. So I've got my clean, dry, relatively dry brush. I just run that on the edge so it's just a little bit less definite. While that's wet, I'm going to leave doing the tower and continue over here to see what I can do to improve this. Now I've got this part here is dark. Again, I'm making a whole stroke. And again, I want to fade it out a bit here, giving it a chance to fade out there. That's quite sharp there, that one. So I can sharpen it up with the point. And then that I've got the right shape. This draw here is also quite dark. Again, using the whole brush where I can. And the door was shut, as I remember. This shadow here is dark. Now, where is that point in relation to the next one? Where is that point in relation to that one? Down a bit. If I put my shadow in right in the first place, I've probably got it right. The upward line there, and this goes down there. Not quite straight. And this here is also quite strongly shadowed here. And again, it fades a bit, not a lot. Here. Okay. There's quite a strong shadow here. And also here. Where is that? I've got lost. You do get lost. No, that's not the shadow. That's the shadow. Almost not quite in the right place. So we won't worry about it. But it does come down this way. With a bit of luck, I'm going to take that out. There you are, you see? That's because the colors I'm using are lifting colors. I haven't stained the paper. Right, now then, I don't want that to be quite so definite. Damp. That's the exciting thing about it, right? Okay. How are we doing? It's beginning to appear, isn't it? Beginning to appear. Right. Right. There are more shadows to think about here. That goes actually over there. That one is in shadow from the turret. That way. Right. There's a little shadow there. Just titivating now, a little shadow there. There's no order about doing this. You do it the way it makes you happy, you know? This one here, isn't it? Right. Okay. Right. Now, I think the next thing to do, before I put the windows and titivate little bits and pieces like that in, the next thing to do is to get the roofs in, and then I'll be able to tackle this with more confidence, the turret, because it's a little bit difficult. Right, now you remember I used alizarin. So, if I take some alizarin, now alizarin comes out like that. I think comes out like that. I think that's a little bit too red. So the other color I'm going to add in is touch of, any offers? No? Burnt yellow, well done, somebody was right. Now, if I get it right, it just needs a touch. If you put in too much, your guess is wrong. That's more the tone, it's just not dark enough. So how do I get it darker? More pigment, less. Right, so I'm picking up, twisting the brush to get more pigment because there are a lot of roofs, so I need a lot of paint. So it's go round and round and round in the paint. Come on, don't be idle. Just a touch of the brown in it. Just enough to brown it off. That's better. Just enough to brown it off. That might even be a bit too brown. However, we'll carry on with it now. Okay, so the roof. Well, there's this one here, isn't there? So I've got this here. And I'm using the point because I want the roof to be precise. Then this roof, I need to do this roof as well. That one. Okay, you can go into there, that doesn't matter. Now, watch that chimney, because the chimney isn't red. This roof is, so I can bring the paint down here. I'll bring it down to that line there. This roof here. This roof here. This roof. Lovely roofs, aren't they? What does this one do? This comes over that tower, does it? And it comes forward of those, yes, as well. This roof. Now, it's when you're doing this that you're doing the very dark blues first will have helped. And this one also. How are we doing? Well, it's a bit cold, but it's there, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. There's a sort of edge there on the top. Sort of edge there on the top. Right. Okay. Right. Now you can start to put in the details. We want to get a really dark for the little details, the door, some of the windows, the shadows under the eaves in places are very dark. And the quickest way of getting them is to use two of the colors we've already used. One is the ultramarine, and the other is the burnt sienna. Which gives you that nice dark. Nearly black, but not quite black. So I can start now to put in details to help define the picture. Right. Okay. I'm not going to get finished. There we are. I start at one end. We'll get into it. Around about here is a window. And then directly underneath, it's a very dark window, which I've made too big. And two windows above it aren't very dark, so putting them in really dark is not going to be a good help. And a little window here, which is more or less on a level with them. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because there's this turret, isn't there? It comes down here. There's a sort of shadow there, which goes off like that. And This one comes down a bit. This little bit here. This could be darker. It's too far over. It should be defining the turret, and it's too far over. I lift it. This is dicey. This is foolishness. But it would be right. It'd be more right if I do it. So. What I don't want to do is to smudge the black. That's a bit better. Right. So, really dry. Good. This is really dark here. That gives me the edge of the turret there. And it's got little and of course that's gone on too far because this wall sticks out further. See, we all get it wrong, don't we? So some of us perhaps get it right as well. Like I say, do as I say, not as I. And there's one nice little window there. This. That's darker. What that does there is right over there. This becomes very much darker down here. And again, I don't want that sharp edge. So I'll be back to my damp brush again to just help create that. Coming down, and some more down here, because this is quite dark down here. It's beginning to show. That is too wide. Very thin window here. What am I doing? Wrong brush. There's a thin window there. And again on a level with the. Take some of that paint out. Far too much water in the brush. That was one thing. Now, we want this darker. Just at this point here. And again, we want it to fade. That door is very dark, isn't it? I can just take this. Across the bottom. It just gives the painting somewhere to sit. But you can see what I'm doing. How are we doing for time? Right. Obviously, there's the tower up here to do. There's a shadow here, which differentiates this round one from the next one to it, which will help. And then you want to start putting in the dark shadows here. And of course, the little knobs on the top. That one. Which helps. Right. You can see all kinds of other, the line here. That's too strong. Do it in blue. Better. You can start to, once you've got the basic shapes in, you can start to titivate them. You can start to put in your windows and your doors and your other shapes. That's basically how you go about it.